Shalom, shalom. Let me give all praises and glory and honor to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harakakwadash. Double honors to my elder, J. Master, great milestone, who rule very well. And much peace, citation, and love to all you brothers, hopeful like kicking this with what for wins, in sincerity, honesty, and in faith. To be honest with you, we are living in a beautiful time, man, where things that are hidden are being revealed. All right, going into as this video says, soldiers talks about aliens, which we in the know that these aliens are the angels of the Lord. All right, whether people want to believe it or not. All right, these documents that's being disclosed now, which is prophecy, is bringing more light to these outer space, which the word alien means a foreigner. So outer space foreigners, man, foreigners to the earth. And what's stated in this video is one of these soldiers asked this Jake. It so happened to be a Jake. I'm teaching a class on aliens. I only recorded 2 minutes of the video or less, because there's a lot of bones being spoken. All right, Jakes in the military, they go through a lot of hell, and he looks like he's but by his spirit you can tell he ain't work with a full deck. But the point is being made in this video that the other soldiers asked him if these were the ones that were going to be fighting, which goes into the final encounter. There's a book, I believe, I don't know if it's by Steven Spielberg, but it speaks about how the militaries of the world are going to be fighting an outer space invader. And Lord willing, I'll hit up a few scriptures, and that'll be it. But I'll play the video first here.
Servants.
What's the angry ones look like? The reptile ones that you were talking about.
The fucking bad the ones that we're gonna be fighting.
You hear that?
The ones that we're gonna be fighting.
Talking about.
The fucking bad the ones that we're gonna be fighting.
He always said that the ones we're going to be fighting. This is the book of Revelation. Chapter 12. And 7 says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. All right, the Michael, the archangel, and the angels, which is the other powers on the right hand side, against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not, neither was there place found any more in heaven. Now let's jump into the word dragon. The word dragon. The word dragons go into Greek. Drakon. It says a dragon, a great serpent, a name for Satan. Now the word Satan means adversary. A great serpent, that goes into what? The beginning. All right, let's jump into a few more details in the book of Revelation on the history of this this dragon. Let's see if there's any more here. You know what? Lord willing, I'll come back to this. Let's go to Revelation, the 20th chapter. You know what? Let's jump back, because there's a lot. And in fact, there's more here. Let's go back to 12. It says, verse 9, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceived the world, right? Which deceived the whole world. And he was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Now the word dragon, as we read into, it means an old serpent. And as it says here, that old serpent, which we go into the book of Genesis, the 3rd chapter, it says, called the devil. The word devil means a liar, which they have you believing that the aliens are green men with big heads, right? Coming to prod you and examine your body, right? It says, which deceived the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him, meaning that they're going to be cast down into a low state, because right now the Edomites are ruling. They're in their heaven. Now let's jump to other evidence of this dragon. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 2, 20 and 2. It says, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is called the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Now that dragon that old devil, or that devil and that serpent, goes into, again, the book of Genesis. It says, and cast him into the bottomless pit. That bottomless pit is Europe. Bound him 1,000 years, which goes into what? When Jake was ruling Europe for 1,000 years, called the Dark Ages. All right, where there's they claim there was no technology, but the facts are most of the technology and all the advancements came out of the Dark Ages. Right? It says, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season. All right, that little season goes into what? It goes into the Renaissance period. All right, the Renaissance period was when he came back into power. The word Renaissance means a rebirth, and that's a rebirth of the so-called Caucasian Edomite Eurocentric nation. Right? It says, and when the 1,000 years were expired, Satan shall be loosed out of the earth, or out of his prison, Salakia, and shall go out to deceive the nations, which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. Gog and Magog, which goes into the land of the Medes, or the so-called Russians, which right now everything's getting stirred up between Russia and America, between Asian powers, China and North Korea, even Iran, getting ready for war. All right, now let's jump to the book of let's go to the book of Genesis. Genesis chapter 4. You know what? Kanslakia. That goes into shut him up in it says shut him up and set chain on him. Let's go to the book of Job, which goes into the Edomites. Edomites were cast out. This book of Job 30:1, it says, but now they that are younger than I, right, than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock. Going into how these Edomites are very well known for committing bestiality, going back to the Romans and the Greeks even now. Yea, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished. The scriptures say that these Edomites are actually very weak people. It says, for want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. It says, they were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief. You hear that? As after a thief. Let's go to Genesis, the 4th chapter. Go to Genesis 4. It says, go back up here. It says, this is the book of Genesis, chapter 4 and 9. It says, and the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the earth, from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. It says, where did I get that? Where did I miss it? No, I didn't miss it. I just gotta read down. It says, verse 11, and now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. It says, when thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. That's why we call them, a fugitive and a vagabond is known as a criminal. And the word criminal goes back into crimson, which means red, which the so-called white man is not actually white. He's red. All right. A fugitive, which is one who runs away from a crime, and a vagabond is a wanderer. All right, because white people have been committing many crimes in the earth and they've never been prosecuted. And a vagabond is meaning that they're everywhere and they're in lands that they physically shouldn't even be in. All right, they don't sync with the natural the vibration of the land. Right, so that's why Job said they cried after them as after a thief. Job 30. It says, verse 5, it says, they were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief. All right, a criminal. All right, at crimson, let's jump into the book of, I believe we went to Revelation. Let's see if we got any more in Revelation 20 chapter. Revelation 20. And and 7, let me get that again. It says, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, the prisons of caves of Georgia, Russia. Right? It says, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth. And to be honest, the dwelling place of the Edomites was known as Mount Seir. And when they left Mount Seir, they wanted to, the nearest place which they most likely felt good about inhabiting was the Caucasus Mountains, which remind them of Mount Seir. It says, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, which is Russia, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the seas. All right, let's jump to the book of Revelation. Going back into how these military men know. All right, some of them know what the deal is and what the final encounter is going to be. Revelation 1 and 7. It says, behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him, even so, amen. This is talking about our Lord, how he's going to be coming in clouds. That's the book of, let me see if we can grab it here. It's book of Acts. A cloud. Oh, one's going to shut off on me here. This book of Acts. This is the book of Acts. Let me get it here. It's book of Acts. Acts 1 and 9. It says, and when he had spoken these things while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. You hear that? So when he comes to a cloud, it's not talking about a fluffy cloud. It's talking about a chariot. Book of Psalms goes very much so into it. It says, and when they looked steadfastly towards heaven as he went up, behold, two men stood by them in white apparel, which also said, ye men of Galilee, why standest ye gazing up into heaven? This same Yahushua, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall so come in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven. Let's go clouds, chariots. His chariots. Let's get that real quick. Clouds, his chariots. Or maybe chariot. This is Psalms 104 and 3. Who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot, who walketh upon the winds of the wind. Right, so let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra, the final encounter. 2nd Ezra chapter 13. And this is, let me quickly jump to the book of Revelation 11 real quick, because this is going to be the ultimate final encounter, World War III. And 14. This is the book of Revelation 11 and 14. The second woe is past, which is the Second World War. And behold, the third woe cometh quickly. Let's jump to what that third world war is going to look like. Revelation, it's like 2nd Ezra chapter 13. And 1, it says, and it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamt a dream by night. And lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him, man. What the scriptures say about the disciples, they were looking up, right? So when the Lord comes, he's going to come from the heavens, or from the sky. It says, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire. That goes into the scriptures say in the book of Isaiah, that when he comes, he will not meet you as a man. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven, to subdue the man that came out of the sea, which is the Shemayim, which is the heavens, the waters. It says, but I beheld, and lo, he had graven himself a great mountain and flew upon it. That great mountain is known as the fathership. All right. It says, but I would, it reminds you of, when you think about it, it's just like the movie Star Wars. All right. Star Wars would be a good example of that. But I would have seen the region or the place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. So these soldiers are going to be so afraid, but the Heavenly Father's going to put in their spirit to fight him, man. To fight Yahushai. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only as saw that he sent out of his mouth, as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, showing you that these comic book writers and movie producers are inspired by the Holy Scriptures. To have fire come out of your mouth and even your hands, that's something that came out of the Bible, man. The Bible is an originator, all right? The word Yahweh Shemi Shai. And out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests, all right, like Cyclops. Even his eyes, it's gonna be beautiful, man. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, are showing that it's going to be like a beam and flames coming from the beam. It's going to be beautiful, man. And fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one. You see what, I'll keep reading. So that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived but only dust and the smell of smoke. When I saw it, I was afraid. But the man of the Lord, as you know, we imagine today, we've seen these things in movies. Thing is, Ezra never saw it ever. He could not even imagine. But we've seen these things. We've seen them in movies, and we're meditating on these things. So to see it in real life, we may not be as troubled as he was, but it's going to be heated up in that day still. So, Lord, one that was edifying. I'm gonna give all praises to the Most High Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Ba'ashem Harakakwadash. Double on to my elders at GMS Great Millstone, rule very well. Much peace, citation, love to select. Shalom, Kwame Yashar Allah, Abad Babal, Shalom.